had a dream that you could fly? Raise of hands. Well, for me, I lived this pretty frequent dream through tumbling. I've recently retired from level 8 gymnastics because I fractured my back. I love this sport so much that in spite of the injury, I have been able to condition my body and get back to where I'm just tumbling. Once you get down the basic forms of tumbling, basic stills, it's not too hard to build from that. So the first skill that we're going to go over today is a back handspring. The form and execution of the back handspring, different kinds of back handsprings, and just some basic skills you can do to try and get to that point. This will be a thing you're going to have to work on, but luckily after the speech you will kind of get a basic understanding of how it's done. Execution. Step 1 would be the prep. You would want to squat with your arms up. It kind of would look like this whenever you're starting. You would be on releve, so whenever you're on releve you kind of are getting to where you're going to be in the air. When you squat, actually go down for the prep. It's kind of hard always, I would fall down, but you want to make sure that your knees are slightly behind your toes, because if you put them in front of your toes like this, your hands will land right here instead of back here, and that can lead to back injuries, as I know. And then the next one will be the arch, is the next step to doing the execution of a back handspring. In the arch of back handspring, if you guys have ever thrown a slinky down the stairs, that's kind of the arch you want to make, or if you ever just bounced a ball. It wants to be not too curved, but kind of just like a dome, kind of. When you're in your arch, you want to make a flight skill to where, with a flight, your arms or your hands and your feet will be off the floor at the same time. In gymnastics, if you were to do a flight skill on beam, that'd be how it'd have to be. Otherwise, you can get hurt, or you just don't get points for the skill. The last step of the execution of a back handspring would be the handstand. It's called a back handstand or a back handspring for a reason. Hand. You do want to touch your hands and be in a handstand, which is why gymnasts are always so good at handstands and they practice them so much. If you're doing an English handstand, that would be for the step out. If you're just doing 2 foot, that would be for the 2 foot back handspring. But whenever you're in your back handspring, whenever you hit your hands, you want to make sure that you're in the handstand form. Kind of the second point I wanted to go over, just in general, there are 2 different kinds of back handsprings. There is a step-up back handspring and a 2 foot back handspring. 2 foot is generally what you will see in gymnastics. Step out is a little bit more dancey. It looks a lot more artistic. The difference is when you're in your handstand, what you do with your feet. In the step-out back handspring, you would be in a 180 split, and this in the 2 foot, it takes a lot more power, and your feet are together, so it's a lot more stress on your back. Some skills you can work on to kind of get this down, because it's not as easy at first. Just throwing it's not a good idea. You can either work on your handstands. In your handstands, you want to, for your English, it would be a little bit something like this, to where you are basically at a 180. I'm not sure if I am at the moment. I know I'm talking. While you're in this would be the 2 foot, and you want to make sure that your back isn't too arched, but the back is obviously you're going to be arched, and then the calm down. Okay. Back walkovers as well. That would be more for a step out because your feet are separating. You want to keep your, I'm a lefty, some people are righty, most of the cheerleaders are righties and so are gymnasts, but I'm weird. With your right leg would be my base leg. Your left leg is going to come up with the rest of your body, and your right leg is going to stay down as long as it can. So it would look a little something like this. And make sure that you keep your legs straight. I'm not sure if mine were. Also, you can do bridges. Ground's kind of dirty, but I will go on anyway. When you're in your bridge, you want to make sure that your shoulders are somewhat over your hands and your legs are straight. If your legs are bent, it'll look really bad, or even if they're apart, it'll look really bad as well. You might get the impression that you don't know what you're doing, or you're just throwing it because you want to. Also, like handstands, I do not want you to think that that's going to be able to how it's going to be. Just doing it up against a wall, because you want to be able to support your hands, not bend your arms. The final product of what it would kind of look like, I'm actually going to do a step out back handspring, and then I'm going to do the 2 foot. Mostly I'd recommend trying the 2 foot at first, not the step out, because unless you have pretty good flexibility, it's not going to be as easy. And this is what the final product would kind of look like. And then took up about 10 feet-ish, I don't know. And so, as you saw, I was kind of in a handstand as I went over. My legs were straight, hopefully, or my coach is going to hurt me. So hopefully now if you were go to like a pep assembly, or if you're watching gymnastics or cheerleading, you kind of have a better understanding of how it's done. If you practice, it's actually not that hard. I've been doing it for 6 years. It's not too difficult. It's mostly like a level 5 skill, which is like 10-year-olds. So I'm sure if they can do it, you can do it too.
Good job.